to anyone catching this right now, whoever's tuned in. Just an impromptu build about really being intentional about leveling up your creative life, right? We're in a time now where technology is moving at terrific speeds, literally, right? There's so many possibilities, so many ideas, so much going on. Sometimes it can get overwhelming and seem overwhelming. And one of the things I recently came across, I'm forgetting the name of it, I'll remember as we build, but it was coming from the perspective of visual artists and painters, and it was giving a lot of gems on how to level up your situation, you know, how to look at what you're doing currently as a creative and stop looking at it as the nickel and dime small thing and start to look at it with this bigger perspective of not shifting the art, not shifting what you're known for, what you care about, your values, your integrity, and your approach, but instead shifting who you're pitching it to and how, right? So one of the things were things like, I make music, I make beats, I'm an educator, I do speaking engagements, I do workshops, you know, I do performances, etc., right? So yes, I could look at this thing, oh, I sell merchandise. So I could look at this thing easily as I gotta get 250 people to buy something for $20 every month to make what I need to make, to fulfill my artist's creative life, but as well as my real life, with bills, etc., my personal life. Or I could say 250 transactions, that's a lot. For some people, that's nothing. For me, that's a lot of transactions to expect to make happen every month. And it's a lot of work to kind of get that going, right? So I'm starting to shift my mind more towards maybe it's not 250 transactions and maybe there's just 3 or 4. And it's the $1,500 to $2,000 performance one, right? It's the pitching a workshop to the institution, the education institution, or the museum, right? So when I think of the higher numbers now, I'm thinking of the culture education side of my life. You know, culture are things like museums and, you know, art galleries, etc., etc. A lot of these cultural establishments have budgets to do things that are on a bigger scale. You know, educational institutions, a lot of times they have bigger budgets to do things that's on a greater scale. So I wouldn't pitch these things to just the typical person, you know, doing club gigs, etc. That's a different thing. But then also they're in the mix too, you know, traveling in the States, internationally, etc. My mind has shifted from only looking at I can travel when I have this new product out right now, ready to go, you know, and more into I could travel based on my experiences and what I've done over the past 25 plus, almost 30 years, right? And share information, collaborate with people, perform, workshops, beats, lyrics, writing, etc., music business, you know, workshops and collaborations with bigger institutions, education institutions like I mentioned earlier, you know, there's schools that teach music production and recording, etc., etc. There's experience that I feel like I can share in those forums. And even beyond that, right? Youth Culture Power is a project I have with partner, friend, fam, Jay Rawls, and that puts us in the EDU space. Rawls has been an educator for nearly 30 years. I've been an educator for about 15, and we connect in that way and created a thing that's very unique because it allows us to share our cultural lens, our education experiences, And then also just our finger on the pulse of caring about what young people are doing and where the next things are going, because we're hip hoppers and that's what it's about, right? But something else I want to talk about, I'm in the car with my lovely wife, Nico, and one of the things we discussed about what she does and has been doing and has been thriving at is furniture upholstery, right? And many other things, but that's been a big focus. And even with that, right, she could continue to look at it like, I'm gonna get these exclusive clients to do these one-of-one pieces for, in exchange, one person at a time. But then that, with that still going, it can expand to, I'm doing, a pop-up at a museum, beyond a cleaning. I'm doing a pop-up at a museum, and I'm workshopping my upholstery pieces, showing them some of my best pieces, how the inspiration came, how I got to this point, and doing a class, teaching a basic level of upholstery to people that join this workshop, right?
Love to teach a class.
So now that takes it from, yes, I'm getting this one-off piece off, $2,500, $3,000, $5,000, to I'm doing this workshop with the High Museum for $20K, one spot. Or I got this space, this art workspace that I'm allowed to occupy for 2 years and just kind of workshop and work out all my ideas and pour into my creativity in a different way that allows me to almost create this retail space, workspace, lecture space, class, etc., etc. So those are the things we're pushing more towards. And Nico, you got anything you want to say?
As you were speaking, I was thinking out different ways to present what you just shared, because I would very much love to start teaching upholstery classes here in Atlanta, and finding a space and getting all of the planning together. It's something that has definitely been front of mind, but I hadn't considered pitching it as something to do for a larger institution like the museum. So
yeah,
very cool.
Sorry, I was digging for change. I see someone standing there. I like to give when I can, but wow, we're in a time where we never carry cash, right? Babe,
So
you don't have any
strange.
cash, do you?
No,
50 cents,
so.
anything? Yeah,
It's
on a
in my
hot
other
day
bag.
like today, it's like 97 degrees. I see someone standing out there, older gentleman. I would always want to give something. Nothing, huh?
I got $1, but I gotta get it.
Oh, babe, we gotta go.
Sorry, mister.
Yeah, the intentions are there. We'll get the next one. But yeah, like I said, this was an impromptu build, and a lot of the point is to just share some of the mind shift, and just some of what we're thinking right now and how to navigate the terrain, but also just how to level our situation up, right? We're feeling good about what we're doing, what we're creating, where things are going. But I think it's always smart to stay intentional about, how do I make it bigger, better, sharper, more amazing. And those are the things that we ponder regularly. And I wanted to make this video more so to put it out there to the people that are tapped in to what I'm doing already, and then the people who may catch this randomly, but it speaks to you.
Other creatives who are in the same space, or
or thriving to be in the same space, moving in this direction.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, nothing more, nothing less. And beyond that, I say to you, keep pushing through. We were having a conversation before this video, before I decided to push record, and the conversation was based around understanding that the obstacles never go away. There'll always be obstacles. There'll always be something to navigate over, jump through, go around. But as you get sharper, as you empower yourself more, as you become more aware, as you learn more, right?
And as you start to look at those things not as negatives, but as a part of the process.
Exactly. They're the lessons.
They are the lessons. All your failures are what gets you to where you want to go.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, if you're failing or making a mistake at something you're really, truly passionate about, you need it. You need it. Accept it, embrace it, learn from it, keep moving.
Move through this life as a creative the same way a toddler does when they're learning to walk. They fall down, they get right back up and try again.
Yes.
They fall down, they get right back up and try again. And eventually, they get it. The balance is there. Their whole family is cheering for them. And it's a really beautiful and exciting moment.
Yeah. I used to always hear, and for many years, it had to catch up to me. I heard this before I was ready to hear it. Fail fast and often. Right? And it was just cut like that. And what that was telling me was fail fast and often, right? So that you can stay ahead of the game. If you fail quickly and often, you're learning faster. You're getting better faster, right? You're gaining more wisdom faster. You're probably a thought leader and cutting edge with whatever that is, because you're going through the troubleshooting motions to figure it all out. And that's the thing, you know. I also hear this reference a lot today, and it makes all the sense in the world, right? From a gaming perspective, we're in a time now where you could retry the same level over and over and over again at the same spot. We're from the era where if you lose, you start over, and you got to figure it out, and you got to get back to that point, and you never get past until you actually figure it out. There were no cheat code books or no cheat code websites or no special code. None of that existed, right? But we were still able to figure it out and complete these games. And I, not even wonder. I know how much that contributes to today's society of thinking critically and solving problems and being a problem solver and being fine with that, right? Being passionate about the process of, I got to figure this out. Like, you know how many times we had to play Super Mario Brothers or Contra or, name a game to actually beat the game and figure it out? Metal Gear Solid,
The fuel, like the frustration I would feel having to start the level all the way over made me lock in so hard. Like, I'm getting off this level.
But think about it. The thing that kept you in too was you were doing the same thing over and over again and getting better.
Yes. At
the earlier stages to get to that main point. So then it became, oh man, I know where to go. Oh yeah, go up there, go get this, So now you're getting better. And then you're not realizing a lot of these skill sets that you're doing you need later in the game anyway. And these games are designed almost to teach you how to go further before you even get there.
Yeah.
And it's like, as long as you stay in it to win it, that's the whole point of the game. You can only get better by making mistakes and not passing the board and figuring out, what else I got? I almost beat him. I got the power down, almost there. Yeah. And you lose and you go back. But you always make notes or take notes of what works and what are the techniques that actually get you the furthest. And you keep going and keep adding on.
Yeah. I think our video games really set us up for success, because in addition to starting over, there were no saves.
Oh, yeah.
The level of commitment and dedication was very serious as well.
Definitely. Yeah, no saves. That's a thing. And, again, I feel like when I think about it, to your point, babe, as frustrated as I used to be just having to start all over, it did feel good as I went through and just got better and was able to kind of breeze through certain parts. Like, oh yeah, I know this like the back of my hand. It did feel good. It felt like, I'm sharper, I'm better. I know what to do. And I think in real life, that same thing applies where when you're doing something you're really into and locked into and you can see the progress, that's the fuel. And that's why usually, you know, you hear people say cliche things like keep going, keep pushing, blah, blah. I mean, that's what they're doing essentially. They want you to get to the fuel. They want you to taste that small level of success, moving the needle and saying, I did it. And that's what pushes you over the top to make you want to keep going and get to the next part and the next part. And with this creative journey, I'm content with understanding that there is no ending. Truly, I'm a life learner. I've put that in my mind. There is no ending. There's no ending I'm getting to. You know, it's not an ending. It's a higher chapter, a higher level, and it's really inspired by what I just described, right? The gaming situation where you're getting better at life. You're getting better at your creative endeavors. You're getting better at talking and socializing with people and, you know, just growing and evolving. So that's kind of what keeps me going at this stage. And it never in my mind does it click like, oh yeah, once I get to this point of being a dope person, I'm done. It's like, nah, I want to keep going.
Getting better at being yourself.
Yes. I didn't know I was in search of myself. I just wrote a song about that recently. Y'all will hear it soon. But yeah, I literally said, I didn't know I was in search of myself. You know, and what that means is I didn't know until I knew that having knowledge of who I am in this way of pride and from a regal lens, so to speak, it changed my life. It did. It changed my life. It made me want more. It made me want to be better. It made me look at particularly black women differently because I was taught young that, black women are queens. That's the mother. That's the earth. That's the queen of civilization. You know, they're the ones who held it down. They're the strong, household scenarios that really keep the organization going. They run the crib. You know, they run the crib. Come on, women make the house a home. Yes, the fellas, we the protectors, the providers are. I feel like a lot of that's been stretched to something else, but you find a woman who has been raised with certain values, automatically they're just kind of, they have this nurturing soul about them that just brings things together. And that's something in business that I've noticed. When women are involved, usually it's just more organized and more on point. Seriously, it is. And I think it comes from women being a bit more detail oriented and caring about the details more than us a lot of the times. And I decided long ago to not fight that and embrace it and include women and be intentional about that. And that's what I do. But thank y'all for tapping in and tuning in. Hopefully somebody tuned into this and it brought value to your life. It resonated with you in real time. That was definitely the intention. And then even more so, just expect more. There'll be more of this. John Robinson TV, we're glad to have you, and we'll be tapping in more. Thank y'all. Leave comments and let me know.
And questions.
Yes, questions, comments. If you tapped in and this really resonated with you, let us know the deal.